Okay, I can't get this guy held. It's about time that we replace my equipment around anyway. There we go. That's some mana for this wizard. So we got spiky balls. Oh, I like that. What if you had a weekly series where you find different people to play with? To just try them out. I need to do that. My biggest problem is... I guess just to illustrate... Oh gosh, I've been flying for so long I've forgotten how to jump. My biggest problem... Oh... I don't have the dash. Well, this is a mildly immobile wizard. In that case, let's just sack this dude and just chuck him in the forest and see how far we can get. I'll probably be fine, but if I'm not fine, we'll figure that out real quick. I love this room. That dumb horse. Always just charges right in the spikes and solves itself. Okay, but yeah, one-off tryouts would probably be a good idea. And so yeah, what I might... I think it would be easier if I had one other person to work with that wasn't necessarily Shell in this regard. Because that's what I used to do. Because having one other person kind of with a fallback means that, like, even if the new person does not have chemistry, the consistent person that you do have does. And so that was particularly useful in my older friend group for a while. Unfortunately, it was kind of a double-edged sword because it meant oftentimes the new guy just straight up couldn't cut it, or would just get, like, overridden by the more consistent members. And that got to be a bit of an issue, too. I don't know. No matter what, it's like this... It's this weird labyrinth of faux pas and, like, personality conflicts that I don't think I'm prepped for, and have never been prepped for. No matter how many times it happens. That didn't work. I am trying to downstrike you. And it ain't working at all. No looking. Oh, but I don't have dash. Damn it. Yeah, frame them as one-offs instead of tryouts. Oh, I'm sure. I mean, truly, treating anything as a tryout would actually be kind of rude. It's like, I want you to be on my show, but this is a tryout thing. The only way I would do a tryout is if I was running, like, a group. And then I would probably, I wouldn't say publicize it, but it would probably be something goofy, like, I would have already scouted a member, made sure they'd be, like, a good fit and whatever, but then it would be like, before you can become one of the, you know, well, let's go with my old, group name, which is, we had the Catterday crew, which was every, like, Friday, Saturday, we'd get together for mass multiplayer things. And, so what I would probably do is just have some kind of, like, fake tryout, where it's just, like, everyone already knows they're part of the group, and this is more just for the audience side of things, because that'd be fun. But that's... That's a different dealio and... entirely. Someone should make a Tinder app for streamers looking for streamers. You know, I've actually heard some larger streamers talking about that they kind of wish such a system exists. Who was it? That apparently the larger you get, you do actually get more collab requests, obviously. But it's a lot of people that are looking to, like, profit from you, and that can get really trying. And I think that's part of the reason why I'm like, it is rare for me to immediately just, like, say yes to anybody that offers. Because ulterior motives are freaking spooky. I've definitely had streamers that I've interacted with, streamers and YouTubers, who very clearly, like, were mostly interested in joining because they wanted to, like, prop up their channel or, like, get something out of it. And when they didn't get it, they actually got quite grumpy. I had a friend once who was very excited because my channel was growing. And he was absolutely jazzed because he had been doing YouTube for a while and hadn't really, like, seen much of a growth rate. And so at first he was, like, super excited because, like, hey, luckily, this is cheap as hell. Unlike the spike balls. The spike balls are actually dirt cheap, too. The fire might honestly be better for more localized fights, give or take. Let's see. But yeah, some kind of collaborative website, a website for streamers to specifically look for people to work together with. Like, if that exists, if that existed, I would absolutely use it. I'm tempted at some point to try and put together like a Discord that is just like, hey, just invite anybody that has been doing YouTubing, streaming for like a while. The problem is I don't want to be responsible for like personality conflicts by being in charge of a community. Because I'd love to create something like that, but obviously I don't have the technical know-how. So something like Discord would make it easier. But even then, like, I don't want to have to deal with the inevitable, like, somebody collabs with somebody else, but it turns out, like, they were just there for the views. Because that wouldn't be good. Trickle-down viewership is a lie. It absolutely is. And that's actually what ended up ruining the friendship, is that this guy eventually realized that he was getting none of what I was getting. And, like, the real reality is, it does exist, but you have to produce content in such a way that people will stick around, and be interested in your channel beyond just, like, beyond just, like, a face value, like, oh, hey, this person looks kind of okay. Like, I'm 90% certain I've definitely gained at least a couple of fans off of, like, stumps. Just because, you know, they stick around. I'm fairly certain I've seen a number of, you know, my more consistent fans showing up in some of my streamer friends' chats as well. They're like companies who manage that sort of things for streamers. Take no damage. I don't think I'm going to get that. There used to be YouTube networks that would organize collabs, like big group things, but they're all dead now. And now most of the YouTube networks are fairly insular, just like, you know, most YouTubers and streamers. Like, Polaris was the last real true blue YouTube network as far as I'm concerned. Everything after that has been mostly just for legal and business reasons, but otherwise doesn't really provide much of a, provide much value. Like, I'm with a network as kind of a backup, and they send me sponsored deals occasionally. So there's a game called, I think it's called Bite the Bullet, that I'm looking forward to. I'm not doing daggers. Couldn't you get to the chest through my mana shield? No, it still counts as me taking damage. 0 damage is still damage, which is unfortunate. But yeah, so Polaris used to put on a lot of these big group projects, and they'd actually do the legwork on organizing. And I think a lot of people miss that. The main problem is just, they're dead. They got bought out by Disney, who thought, you know, they're buying something actually super profitable that they could just, like, milk for money. And, yeah, that's not how YouTube networks work. They definitely have really thin, profit margins, kind of. I found you through your stream with a vac playing Satisfactory, so you got at least one viewer at least. Oh, yeah. I'm sure there's actually a decent amount of crossover viewership that happens. So, like, I wouldn't say that trickle-down viewership is a lie. It's just that your channel is your resume and your portfolio and whatnot. And if you're not really... If you're not really filling it out, if you're not, if you don't make the cut, nobody's gonna watch you no matter how much you play with, like, another person. It's part of the reason, like, from my older friend groups, only the people with really active solo channels actually managed to get much for viewership, and then otherwise it was only the really dedicated fans that actually stuck around. On the smaller ones. Hey, thank you, Pomoko-san, for the 6-month resub. Yatta. Thank you. I always feel weird saying that, because, like, God, what was it? It was Digimon World 1. The main character would say Yatta really freaking well. I mean, obviously, it was a non-English game, so, of course, the only voice acting was from a native Japanese speaker. But the sound effect of that character making that noise, that exclamation, has been stuck in my head since elementary school, but I've never been even close to matching it, which is a bit of a... I don't know. It's not actually a big deal, but it's a bit sad on my end, just because, like, I would actually love to be able to pull it off. I just suck. Oh, that dealt with the barrels real quick. Got it from the same place? That or Heroes? Oh, man. I forgot about Heroes. That was such a disappointment of a show that could have been amazing. I love the idea of superheroes in a, like, more... I'm not going to say a realistic setting. Because I actually do like what Marvel has been doing. Ish. My biggest issue is just, like, I used to read the comics and I'm just super sick of repetitive plots. Let's pray for assistance. Karen Zobel. Hell yeah. Trickle-down viewership happens, but you can't depend on another person to prop up your own channel like that one guy. Yup. And he was the guy... I felt bad. He was the guy that, like, the last time we had played together, he was one of those people that just, like, totally checked out towards the end, which was unfortunate because we were really good friends prior to that. Okay. There's just too much in here. Just gonna use my best nuclear throne. Capabilities. Go for them. Hello! Oh, strength up. Hey! Heroes was good until the writer's strike killed it in the middle of the season. They should have just put it on hold. Like, I get it. They were just trying to get stuff out, but, like... I don't know. Bugs me a little bit that they couldn't find a better alternative than just to kill the series with bad decisions and amateur writers. But then again, like, I think Heroes was also one of those series that was kind of designed to go until it started jumping the shark, and then it would inevitably get canceled. I think that's even kind of what happened with the show. But I really respect series that, like, have a definitive beginning, middle, and an end with, like, no sense of, like, oh man, we're still doing really good. Let's extend it for another season and another season and another season. Because that, I don't know. I think that works for certain shows, but, like, it hurts more than it helps. Better late than great than, so now. not necessarily as successful as I think you were hoping that would be, but I get the meaning. But yeah, Lost, Heroes, to a lesser degree, Stranger Things. I still like Stranger Things a fair bit, but there is definitely this feeling of, like, after a certain point, I'm gonna have trouble enjoying it 5 seasons from now. Just because I know they're just kind of extending it because people still wanna, you know, milk it for all it's worth. And maybe there is, like, more of a plot. I'm sure there is. Like, I'm sure they actually wrote, like, 5 seasons worth on that. But it's one of those where it's like, I would much rather a show end satisfyingly but prematurely than unsatisfyingly 7 seasons later. I think that was actually the issue with Walking Dead. That's a huge issue for Walking Dead for me. And, I mean, to a lesser degree, what are some other good examples? Walking Dead, I think, is still going, and I'm sure it's still worth watching for a lot of people, but it's hard to enjoy on my end. Like, I think I watched 5 seasons of it, and I think it was after the prison, I was just like, and I am officially bored. Oh, it did hit me. Shoot. Okay, so I'm gonna have to actually take these guys somewhat seriously. Okay, at least that gets me some amount of HP back. And was worth it from I got a dragon helm. Hell yeah. Let's see. But I also really liked Eureka and Warehouse 13. Both of those were absolutely fantastic shows, and they went on too long. And so when they finally were canceled, it was super unsatisfying, because it was just like, well, this was a great show, but they had to rush an ending instead of actually having, like, a final proper finale that feels good. Thoughts on Fringe? Don't have any, unfortunately. Ow. I've never seen Fringe. I probably should actually. Because I've heard good things. It's just, I don't know, I've been burned by too much TV, so it's hard for me to keep up with it nowadays. Like, Star Wars Clone Wars, a show that Shell absolutely adores, and still watches to this day, especially because they have, like, a new final season. And I tried watching the first episode for it, and I was like, I liked it. But I found myself just being like, Shell likes it because because it uses expanded universe characters. And I think that's fine. And there's, like, no digs against it. It's a good show. It's probably the best 3D animated show I've ever seen. Not that I've seen a whole lot. Bill's just yelling her own inputs. Shall get in chat so I can respond to you properly. He's yelling Beast Wars now from across the house. I'll stop responding to you if this is how you communicate with me. Oh boy. I think I'll be okay. Just spike saturation. There we go. And we're good. And we're getting a lot of these. Damn. But yeah, I like the idea of the Star Wars expanded universe. Man, I can actually say words. But yeah, I like the idea of it. My big beef is just that it's gone on too long, and I would have liked it if it had a plan. And I think now that I've seen all of the Star Wars 7, 8, and 9, I'm just kind of like, I think I'm fatigued because it doesn't feel like there's a plan anymore. Say what you want about George Lucas being a bit of a hack. Him being in charge at least kept things kind of weirdly consistent. And so, I'm looking forward to more Mandalorian. What? Made it, you jerk. I'm not even getting money off of that. Okay. There we go. It's like having the same director on every film gave it some semblance of structure. Yep. Though, I would still credit George Lucas's ex-wife for being the reason why the original trilogy was so good. I liked the prequels. Like, I know people like to shit on the prequels nonstop for being messy. And I think they were. I think the character writing dragged it down a little bit. But there was, like, some legitimate wonder that went into those movies that I haven't really seen. Since. Like, the artistry, the character designs, a lot of it was just very inspired. Even if it didn't make any sense considering how freaking Grubbin's Star Wars 4, 5, and 6 was. Like, it was still just this, like, absolutely beautiful universe that I want to see more of. And I think that's why I originally liked the Clone Wars series. It just went on and on. I think mainly, especially because it was... There was... The ending had already been written, so it was just kind of filler in the midpoints. And I almost kind of would have preferred it if, or I think I would still prefer it if Disney took what they have with Star Wars and just said, okay, we're just going to do a bunch of short vignettes in the universe, and then at some point do big plots here and there. Because it's very hard for me to get connected to It was hard for me to get connected to 7, 8, 9, because it was just kind of like, it undid a lot that happened in, like, 4, 5, and 6, which kind of sucked, but it was also just kind of a rehash of things that had already happened. Just from a slightly different perspective and with different characters. And so, like, I like Mando just because it does seem to have its own potential, like, beginning, middle, and an ending. And so it's easier for me to get attached to in a way that, you know, I haven't been getting attached. How about a Star Wars film not focused on the Jedi? Like, weirdly enough, I know a lot of people hated Solo. I thought Solo was a terrible Star Wars movie. But I actually thought it was a pretty decent non-Star Wars movie. Like, if Solo had just been, like, a standalone, just space heist, whatever movie. Ow! Okay, that works. Rogue One was excellent. I loved it. I was mixed feelings on Rogue One. I thought it was good. But I think the one problem it lacked is it didn't have as much of the world building as I was hoping for. Let's see. Do I want to just hang out here? I think one thing that did get me about a lot of both not 4, 5, and 6, but like the a lot of Star Wars media just doesn't have aliens in it. It's very strange. Because I guess for me, Star Wars especially, I grew up on the Star Wars books more than anything else. Ow. Wanted to do this so I could... There we go. Get some HP back, but it is... Damn it. Oh, I got it. Probably because I reached it and then immediately took damage. Well, shoot. Okay, there we go. Try not to take too much damage here. It's so tough reading the books before the movies. Yup. But, like, one thing I absolutely adored about the books specifically is just that there was this massive number of interesting aliens and cultures. And it's like the moment it hits film, they're just like, yeah, never mind, they don't really exist. And I'm just like, no, it's sad. Oh. Room left of the boss, there is a hidden chest. Is there? Sorry. I usually do kind of ignore backseat gaming, but you're right, I just totally missed that one. I'm not big on backseat gaming, but something like that, I'm cool with. As long as it's not too much and not yelling at me. Mainly I get really sick of people being like, how could you miss the wall gold? Facepalm! Oh boy, that gets my goat. I really like to undermine the game, but I'm not the most attentive person, as it's probably super obvious. And so yeah, having a bunch of people just yelling at me because I missed like one trivial thing, gets actually kind of trying. Oh. I'm not sure if I want to go for farming or if I want to try the boss. I feel like the boss would be tough, but I actually don't remember what the boss is. Cripes. And this is why this area scares the shit out of me. I don't think it's worth it. Okay. What do I have over here? Just a jukebox. So I think I'm going to go back to the castle, recover a little bit of HP MP, and then we're going to try and go after this. We're going to go after this boss. Because I've got a stupid amount of money. Like, this worked out really well. Go into the forest. That's much needed HP. You're not a boss. That's good. But yeah, I totally understand, like, it does get frustrating when somebody misses something. I'm just, hi, I'm back here, I guess. Where the hell is here? Here is... Oh, okay, that's not so bad. I remember why I normally don't take those teleporters, because it's dropped me in the darkness before. Whoops. And that sort of thing is bad. But yeah, for better or worse, I think my distaste with movies and TV shows and how, you know, many of them jump the shark or go for, like... Well, that I ain't getting that fairy chest. I guess we might as well just jump. Take your judgmental business elsewhere. Alright. What was I gonna say? I think the whole business with plots and jumping the shark and whatnot. I think that's part of the reason why I like video games more so than movies and TV show plots. Because at least with like a bad video game, I know they're not going to have a second season that I'm somehow not indebted to play, but like, you know, people don't expect me to, well, no. If a game has a bad story, it's very rare that it'll get a follow-up, and if it does get a follow-up, the follow-up is almost always a side story, a new perspective, a full reboot where they try and recapture what made it good. I think people are critical of games in a way that, like, most people are not critical of. They're critical of games in a way that they're not critical of, films. Because with a film, like a bad movie, it's only 2 hours. With a bad game, you're there for hours. And so any flaws or bad design decisions become amplified. It's obvious. And, you know, people will let you know. And so it's a little easier to, like, for developers to get feedback. And it's also a little... It's a little... Okay, how did I not get hit by that? I am actually kind of impressed. There we go. I don't know. I know with most video games, I usually know what I'm getting into. It's very rare that I'm disappointed. There are a couple, there are absolutely a couple of, like, video games and movies and stuff with terrible plots. I prefer watching a bad game than a bad movie. I think it depends. It depends on how long the bad game is, and it depends on how bad the bad game is. Like, anything out of Digital Homicide, for example, no. Like, maybe taking an ogle at one of those just for a second to be like, wow, this is some shit. But what's a good example? Alone in the Dark. Kind of a terrible game that most people probably don't actually want to play. Like, me playing that would probably get... I don't know. Because there are some legitimately, like, funny things about truly terrible games. Either way, like, if a game is bad, you almost always know it's going to be bad, so you know what you're getting into. I'll think about it. Like the Alone in the Dark movie. That would make you the only fan. I actually have never seen or played any of the Alone in the Dark games, so I have no idea. I can't honestly think of many games that I particularly liked that were bad. I ain't nearly fast enough for that. I need some dashes. I think either form of media you can move back on from bad to hilarious due to low quality. Very true. Okay, I think I've got my thoughts in order. I really don't. Whoops. The reason why I can, I guess I like a video game, even if it is a worse video game, is that I know almost every video game has a satisfying conclusion. Or if it doesn't have a satisfying conclusion, it won't have a follow-up season. Like, every game is kind of designed to be self-encapsulating. It's rare that you have the Kingdom Hearts situation, where the games just kind of keep going on and on. And even games like Kingdom Hearts are super few and far between, and most of those people just kind of lose interest on, or eventually the developer just goes for an ending. I think, really, that's it. I just don't want more games to be like Kingdom Hearts. And most games aren't, which is nice. Go back down for a second. Remember seeing an interview with Cliff Bleszinski. He said all games have some redeeming quality, no matter how bad they are, and it's important to remember that one thing so you can use it when you make your own. That is true. Well, I don't know. I would still say there are some redeeming features of even the worst movies. Like, I've been watching Off and on, I've been watching bad movies with my friends in town. And we watched Earth Girls Are Easy a couple weeks ago. And it was a legit bad movie. But it was funny at the same time. Like, there was something redeeming about it, even if I'd never learned. Mage seems a bit OP, honestly. He is OP, unless you're going to the harder areas. It's pretty much farmed up for the castle in the forest. Very true, which is why I'm going to try and go after the forest boss sooner than later. That would actually be something interesting. Speaking of bad games, we should sit down at some point and do... gosh, do we do a bad game roulette? How would I even do that? I guess it honestly wouldn't be too hard. Okay. Well, I'm starting to... I'm not going to say waste my time here, but let's go find a teleporter. And let's go fight the boss. I mainly wanted... Nope. You're not here. I mainly wanted to come back to the castle momentarily just to get my HP and my MP back. And let's go see if I can go for other things. Let's see. The only bad games... Bad and unenjoyable games are the ones from Spiral games. Generic FPS abandonware. Full of asset theft, workers don't get paid, and the founder's an asshole to boot. Yeah, if I were to play bad games, they would probably be suggested, voted upon, and the interesting bad games. Fallout 76 gets, like, 8 slots. Unpopular opinion time, I actually like Fallout 76. I thought it was a fun game. I thought it was a terrible Fallout game, and I thought it was a terrible MMO. But Fallout 76, the only thing it needs is the ability to host your own server on your own terms with mods, and then it would go from probably bottom tier Fallout to top tier Fallout, in my opinion. The biggest problem is they tried to turn it into an MMO, and they haven't released their weird Grubbin's clutches from it.